right, welcome to this YouTube church planting channel. We are so glad that you're with us today. Today we have a very special guest. His name is Dr. Anthony WagenerSmith. We're so glad that you're here, man. Thanks for being here with us. And so would you tell us a little bit about yourself, what's been your experience with church planting, and what are you currently doing right now?
Sure. I grew up in a family where my extended family and immediate family are always starting new things and businesses and moving to different places to do new ventures. So it was very normal what I grew up around, but not particularly in ministry. And then when I felt God calling me into ministry, I started and served existing churches as a district pastor, but always wanted to be able to start new churches. And so when I was about 2.5, 3 years into ministry, I had the opportunity to do that through a number of circumstances. So my family, we planted in Florida Conference. We planted a church, Compass Communities, in Southwest Florida. Then we planted LifeSpring Adventist Church. And both of them are in different socioeconomic levels, different cultures.
Okay.
And also supporting, training, and just being an advocate for those who want to develop new churches.
That sounds amazing. And tell us, what are you currently doing? I know that you've gone recently through a transition in ministry. What does that look like for you right now?
Yes, my family moved to the big city of Berrien Springs, Michigan. That's right. You can smile. And we're very happy there with what God's called us to. So I'm working with the North American Division Evangelism Institute, NAD for short. And I'm an associate there focused on church planting as well as in other areas, but specifically teaching, creating resources, coaching, and encouraging initiatives in our division for church planting.
Well, that is so cool. I'm excited because you have shared this weekend with us with a church planting core team that here in Denver, and you shared 3 things that every church planter should really invest some time in thinking and strategizing and praying about. What are those 3 things? And I especially want to spend some time on the last one of those 3 things.
Okay. Yes, I appreciate the conversation here. This is just a basic thinking through issues in starting a church. So the basic reason these are important is because when you plant a church, people ask you, where is that new church going to be? What geography and what timeline does it open up? When does it start? Which shows you that most of us in American Christianity believe that church is a building, a program that happens in a building on a certain day of the week.
Yeah.
And that could be different based upon your tradition or background, but it's really a location with a program.
That's right.
So the biggest thing that paralyzes us is shrink wrapping the church into a geographic box. And so understanding ways to create the church plant from the beginning, so it's about our lifestyle and it's about ministry and serving in the community. So very simple, 3 things before you plant the worship service, and we learned these through things that worked well as a lot of mistakes. This is how we learn, this is how we grow.
Yeah.
So the first one is visioning and prayer.
Yes.
So you want to make sure you have a solid incubation time for visioning and prayer.
Okay.
That includes not just studying what the scripture says about church and mission and reading books and podcasts and praying together. It also includes making a plan for logistics and how you're going to organize and move towards all the logistical things that need to take place. So for us, that looked like every other Saturday night, rotating through the homes of those initial leaders to pray together, plan, start working on the visioning together. We did that about 10 to 12 months in the last plan. So don't do it too quick. Visioning and prayer. The second area is discipling your core, discipling your main leaders that God's called with you on that mission in that area. And these things aren't sequential, but they're things you have to do simultaneous. Okay. I like to think of them as a linear process for a non-linear reality.
Okay.
Because we plan and God laughs, but we have to have good stewardship and plan well also. So the visioning and prayer. The second one is discipling the core team, and so that is coming together, starting a small group. If you have enough people, you have 2 or 3 groups, but those groups aren't just playing and praying and dreaming about the church, but you are experiencing discipleship together with the same types of experiences you want to invite other people into.
So this is not a closed group, but an open group where people from the community in which you're planting would also come and join in?
Absolutely. groups aren't places for practice.
Mm.
We want to get in on the field, get in the game. We're not here to practice.
All right.
So, maybe you're going through a primer about the gospel. Maybe you're going through spiritual gifts discovery, but you're doing it in a way where you invite people there, and also you're preparing your leaders to then replicate this as the church grows and expands.
Excellent.
So that's a crucial one. And then the third one is planting a ministry.
Planting a ministry. Well, what do you? Yeah, because usually we hear the wording planting a church, where you're using a different term, planting a ministry.
Sure, and it's not unique to me,
Mm-hmm.
but I really like to emphasize it because the phrase church planting is so associated with the building.
Mm-hmm.
Ministry planting is associated with the missional presence in that community or in that neighborhood.
All right.
So this is very important. Because when you start a worship gathering, ideally that should be the gathering of discipled people.
Oh, nice.
It's not the initial point of contact, especially in our secularized culture, depending upon your working here in downtown Denver.
Mm-hmm.
So planting a ministry, what does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah, what does that look like?
It's going to be different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done a lot of different things, and as I meet with others, they're all engaged in it in different ways. But the key is establishing a ministry presence. So when you do this, I find it's helpful to think of it in two terms, two areas of engagement.
Okay.
One is planting ministry in an organic way, and the other is planting ministry in organized ways.
All right. Well, what does organic? What do you mean by organic?
Organic is really just our response to the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
The gospel is not that Jesus came to change your church life, so that you'll do less secular things and do more religious things. The gospel is that Jesus came to change your whole life.
Amen. All right.
So with your neighbors, the way you eat food with people, the way you and your wife check in each week and say, what's our capacity to have someone over or to engage in different activities? You go to sporting events together, go out to eat together, using your birthdays to throw parties and connect with people, but organically making close friends so that we have that sense of missional lifestyle, because we have to demonstrate that as elders and as leaders, particularly to the group. So organic ways, talk through that with your team. And then the other way is going to be organized. Okay. So organized ways are things that are done all the time. Maybe that looks like once a month kids events in a park in an urban area where you develop a presence and you have a special initiative for them. Maybe that's doing health seminars with follow-up, friendships and coaching. We've done a number of different things, but creating organized ministries where people serve and not just doing it on your own. So this is something I appreciate from you as we've spoken together, is you and your wife are just new here to Denver, but you've already connected with so many people doing ministry of all denominations. And so rather than coming in saying we carry God in our pocket, come in and say, where is God already active and how can we partner in our service with official ministries that are making a kingdom impact? So that enables your core team to serve, build friendship, for that community to know who you are and not be burned out because we're duplicating services that are already provided at maybe a second or a third tier.
That is great. So I hear you saying three important things. We talked about kind of a recap here. We talked about visioning and prayer and what the logistic looks like. We talked about discipling, and those are open groups that people come into those groups as they discover who they are in Christ. And then we talked about planting ministries, both organically, where you come and it seems like friendship is a crucial word in there, or the organic. So we're becoming friends with the people there. We actually care for them. We're not trying to look at people as projects, but as friends that we come and live life together. And then there's the other part also when we organize around different ministries. So I think those are great things to really consider, to go after. We'd like to ask you if you would be looking at one church planter that feels that God is calling him or her, and then they're thinking, well, which direction? What should I do next? What would be the one thing? What would be that one thing that you would like to share with that church planter?
Wow. I don't know what stage you're in and where you're at. But one thing that I find is very important, and that is to plan well but to also allow God to destroy your plans.
Mm.
So one of the practices that we've done, and I'd encourage you to do this with your team, but take a blank piece of paper and a pen, sit in a circle, have everyone write down their dream church and mission and plant and what it looks like. Share those things with one another. And then go somewhere, maybe in the backyard, or if you're in an urban area, you need to go to a park where you can do this, but start a fire. And you as a leader, describe how you have to lay those things aside on the altar, and you stick your paper, your preferences, in that fire. We've done this. And then ask everyone else to sacrifice theirs. Because Proverbs says, many are the plans in a man's heart, but it's the Lord's purpose that prevails. Mm-hmm. So let's have excellence, let's have good stewardship, logistics, and planning, but let's allow God to change that so that we don't end up trying to defend a method or trying to defend a model, but really building our church around the gospel. I think that's a healthy place to be, and to have a community around you that can do that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Anthony, for being with us. Thank you for sharing. If you have found that this has been helpful, we encourage you to like that video, to share it with somebody that may be needing to hear something like this, and maybe you could consider subscribing as well. So thank you so much for being here, and we hope to see you next time.
And keep growing. Keep growing, my friend.